Hey Insiders, we've got a very special guest joining us today who's recently gone through our LMA Life Mastery Achievers flagship course. And she's going to be coming on here today with her amazing energy to share her experience from start to finish and everything else in between. And I guess just diving right in, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, telling us who you are and where you're currently based in the world.
Hello, everyone. I am Rizia. I am currently placed in North Carolina in Raleigh, and I'm originally from South Africa, but I've been here for about 3.5 years. So,
Rizia, great to be connected with you here this morning. Always a pleasure speaking with you. And just speaking about LMA, and I know you've gone through LMA a few times, but bringing it back to the very start, what would you say was the biggest problem or challenge that you were facing in your life prior to joining the LMA program?
okay, so I had like two really big issues that were going on. The first one was that I felt very stuck in my marriage. I was unhappy for in my marriage for majority of it for years, like over 10 years. Um, and I'd been trying and I was trying everything. And then we moved to the US and it sort of got worse because I no longer had my family and my closest friends around me to sort of distract me from the life that I wasn't loving. Because they would be that source of my joy and my love and so on. The other thing was that I was stuck in the chains and the cycle of the parenting methodology that has been generational. And I was beginning to become aware of not being happy with the type of mother I was.
Mm.
And it was really crushing me. It was breaking me. I would go to sleep at night crying. And those two things were like sort of together. And it was just this cloud that just never ever went away. And I was deep down, I was miserable. I've always been like a very happy person and on the outside. And I never shared these deepest, darkest secrets with just anybody. And so people wouldn't know. So I felt alone in this bubble, in this pain and this darkness. And that's what really pushed me when LMA sort of appeared in my life. I was like, I have to do this.
And how did it appear in your life then? How did it show up? And
I think it was an ad on YouTube or something, one of Tim's ads, and I don't know. I was like, and then I think I first signed up for the free class that he offered, and then it was after that that I made this decision that I absolutely had to do this.
wow. And was there anything that was preventing you from joining the program at that time that you were like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And if so, how did you put that to one side and step forward in faith and commit to the LMA program?
Um, it it was the financial issue. It wasn't necessarily stopping me, but it was a challenge because since we got to the US, I have not been able to work because of the type of visa that I have. So my husband would have needed to pay for that for me. And
Mm.
like I said, my marriage was not something that I was very proud of at that time. And that was the barrier. Like going forward to speak to him, to ask him to
Mm.
finance this for me. That was the biggest barrier. But I remember it like it was yesterday when I approached him and I was like, look, this is our situation. And I cannot spend the rest of my life like this. And so I have to do this. This is the only option now because I have tried everything else.
Mm.
And so this is a new option for me to try. And so I have to do this. And so then it was just it wasn't even I wasn't really even asking him for permission to do it. I was just saying, look, you gotta pay for this for me. And so once we got through that and he agreed, then it was like this financial struggle. We got through it. I don't know how.
Great more. Fantastic. And then moving on from there, then, Rizia, what surprised you the most about the LMA program, would you say, that worked well for you?
That worked well for me.
Yeah.
I would say consistently doing the LMA Live program over and over
Mm.
because there is so much content and there is so much that can facilitate betterment for you.
Mm,
And because there's so much, it's too much to try to implement all of it at once.
mm,
And I remember when I first started with LMA, that's what I was trying to do. And I would beat myself up because I wasn't doing it all.
mhm.
And then every time LMA Live came on, I was like, okay, I did it. And I dedicated myself. I made a decision so many years ago that I was going to do this for the rest of my life. And so far, I've been pretty consistent. But what I've learned through doing that is that once I kept on doing it, I discovered that there were certain things that I would consistently implement. So
Mm.
every time I did an LMA season, there were just maybe one or two, three things that really stayed. And then with the next season, it was other things. And so it just built upon each other. So that's what really worked for me.
Wow. And specifically, like I know you've gone through it many times, but specifically, what would you say has been the biggest benefit to you in your life that you have experienced from the LMA program?
Oh, I would say definitely learning to be my authentic self. I'm still struggling, not struggling, but I'm still working on and improving the whole people pleasing factor.
Mhm.
Um, but I've really grown in that regard. And I think because I think that's so ingrained in us as
Mm.
people in general, from the beginning of time, we've got this whole people pleasing thing. And once we can break through that barrier, then we can really be ourselves and who we know makes us feel free in our every single day life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say that.
Wow. Now, how would you summarize Tim as like a teacher, facilitator, instructor, trainer? What would you say about Tim?
He's a weird Asian guy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, One of the things that I've learned after embarking on this self-development journey, because it started with Tim, and then sometime afterwards I started branching out. And what I started to learn was this whole world existed that I didn't know about. And there's so many people out there. And what encouraged me to become a life coach was that at first I was hesitant because there's so many out there. But what I learned and discovered is that certain people are for you and certain people are not for you. And for some other reason, Tim Han was for me.
Mm,
Um, I think it was just sincerity. And that's not something that you can just see, it's something that you feel. And there were times when I was still growing where I would have these self-sabotaging thoughts, and about the whole success inside a team. And a big thing that I've learned along the way is it's not what's being offered to you necessarily, it's what you choose to do with that, and
mm,
how much you play full out. And when you start applying yourself, then whatever is being offered to you, whoever the teacher is, that's gonna be what really pulls you out and gets you the benefits of everything that you're learning. So Tim does his thing the way that he does it, but he's for me. And I can watch and listen to him over and over and over and not get bored and not get tired. And yeah, I don't know. I can't even explain it. I think it just comes down to his sincerity about wanting to really help somebody else become better. And I
beautiful.
think when you have that intention, that's what connects you to somebody who's looking for that help.
Wonderfully put. Beautiful words. And final question here today, Rizia, is what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about joining LMA? They're sitting on the fence, they want to change their life, but they haven't stepped forward in faith yet. What would you say to those people?
Um, no one's coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. No matter what the intensity of your dark cloud is, whether it's light and you think, you know what, it will pass, it's probably not going to pass if you don't make a change. And if it's really, really intense, also, you're going to continue to feel alone. because whether you have people around you and support you, your journey is still your own journey. And so whether you start LMA or you don't start it, you're still going to have that alone feeling. The only one that can save you is you. The only one that's going to change anything for you is you. So, like with my marriage, for example, my marriage itself has not necessarily changed in any way. But because of the growth that I was willing to pull myself out of with the help of Tim and the Success Insider team and the support of the Facebook group, because of that, I was coming to save me. And so I grew and I changed myself and I became a better person. And now I'm fulfilled so much in my marriage, even though my marriage hasn't changed. So if you are considering it, it's still up to you. And it's not going to change anybody else's life, but it's going to change your life if you are willing to, and if that's what you really want. So I'd say if you're thinking about it, you have to decide if this is something that I really want. Going half-heartedly in is going to give you half-hearted answers and results. So either way, it still just comes down to how badly do I want to change my life? How badly do I want to be happier and just live better every single day?